We are still on the conversation, hoping this will be the part 2 of it, where we're discussing the reasons, trying to debunk why we are losing our young girls and boys to murder. Everyone is killing each other. At least recently, it's been more than usual. I want us to pick it from this under 30s. First of all, why do you think it's only the female cases reported than men, Rita? Because I know boys are also like, it's quiet.
I think it's an issue of just what they said. I think most of the time when it comes to murder, it's very rare not to hear about murder. But still, for me, I think the number of women murdered is higher than the number of men. Yeah, for me, it's a man thing. It's the way you grew up. It's the way you are socialized. It's a culture thing. And I was actually shocked when he said it's not even in Africa. It's all over the world, because what we usually think, like people from Europe and basically the West, men are in touch with their emotions. Like, I think we've watched too many movies.
Yeah.
We see men cry. So for me, it was shocking, which is good to know. Like, all over the world, there's this thing about men feeling that we can't talk about these issues, we can't cry, we are the alpha male, and such things. Yeah.
So why is it then it's quiet for the men?
So again, why couldn't we go higher than that and start doing campaigns together, as in a man video, a woman video, all as one, showing what's right and wrong? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I think you know social media very, very well, that if they get that campaign right, it might help to educate and might help to step up what is right and wrong against both a man and a woman. And I think that might help then change some of the mindsets. It might help grow some of the conversation behind it. And I think we have to use social media platforms now. The generations now are social media driven, which again I think would help from taking it not just in the home responsibility, not just at the schools, but now wider discussions. You know, some of those adverts, some will be good, some will be bad, but I think it will create discussion, and I think it will just create positive and negative, but it will get it, the subjects being spoken about, and then there will be more men cases, women cases all together. I think that would be a good thing.
Like Mutai, you're very influential on social. I mean, even when you're just telling people, stay calm. You know, a lot of people respond to stay calm.
No, actually, they do stay calm.
They do,
yeah, they
you
do
know.
Stay calm. Yeah.
So what James is saying, I think, is incredibly strong.
I've been using my platform to advance my school of thought, and I'm very glad that I have so many people who have responded to it positively. And I want to say this, is a challenge to myself. I'm not focused on educating, educating or focusing on a girl child. I'm focused on, you know, both boys and girls. I want women to respect men, and I want men to respect women for who they are and how they've been, you know, God has created them. So, and in doing that, I've been advocating to a situation, a scenario whereby, you know, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a situation we are in here in Kenya. You know, somehow some women, I'm not saying it's everyone, some women think it's just okay, you know, to do something to a man, take his money, you know, do something, just something to a man, and they think it's okay for that man to be strong and just walk away. The same thing, it boils down to that culture whereby women also have come to believe men are strong. They should not cry. In fact, in Kenya, a man crying is a serious matter. The other day, we had a politician who reported to the police that he has been beaten by the wife, and he became a laughing stock. So we have a scenario whereby women think in Kenya, some women, and not all of them, but a good number of them, some of them might think it is okay to do something to a man and let the man just walk away by being a man, you know, like holding it in there and being strong. Don't cry, don't retaliate, don't do anything, just be a man. That's what some of these women normally do. So we have seen scenarios whereby a man does something bad to a woman, but when you interrogate, she said something very important, that there is no amount of money, and I believe she was referring to the case of Ivy. There's no amount of money that is worth someone's life. I agree completely, 100%. But when you're solving, for us here, we are not in court, so we are not going to condemn someone, but we want to find solutions to our problem. And our problem we have is a man killing a woman. Now, how do we solve that? How do we move ahead ensuring that men stop killing women? We go down to the root cause of the problem. We start by solving the problem. I agree, no amount of money is equal to someone's life. But again, I say this. Some Kenyan women need to start learning and understanding that it's not okay to just do something to a man and tell the man, be strong. Because you've been told a man is a strong person. It's not okay. So that's what I was saying. If we get a man and a woman into the same room, we'll start educating them. Women will start understanding, if I don't like that man, I won't take his money. You see? And then men will also start understanding, if she doesn't like me, there's no need to pursue her. You see? But that one can never happen when you're fighting from Lokchogio and the men are in Tanzania. It will never happen. You need to go to the men, take the war to them. If you are focused on ensuring a man respects a woman, go to those men, take the war to their doorstep, go to the schools, beat these young boys, because at the moment you will never expect our society to teach our men the right thing, because most of our societies back there, they are actually still in the traditional way of doing things. You go beyond Nairobi, you find people, the Maasais, they are still back in the traditional way of doing things. So therefore, for those who are focused on empowering a girl, and this is my challenge, stop focusing on the girl child alone, and stop using 90% of your time on the girl child. Use actually 90% of your time on the men. Go to the boy child. Let the boy growing knowing that a woman should be respected and a woman is not something to use like a lab rat. Yeah.
About bringing both parties on board, I'm for it. I'm for everybody coming on board and respecting each other. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want, cohesion. But my point is, there's something wrong. Let me go back to what he has said about when you can't take a man's money and then think you can get away with it and he'll be okay with it. No, this is where things get complicated. We have a generation which uses money and gifts as a measure of love. If we didn't have these things as a measure of love, we wouldn't have these issues. Where do I feel like I need to give you money so that you like me? This is where the problem comes in. I've given you money because I was supposed either to buy your love. I'm putting it quotes because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a gift. I've put all this time on you, and then you decided not to reciprocate my love.
Let's be honest about it, though.
Ignore me.
Let's be honest about it. A huge percentage of women are getting into relationships for money. They don't hide it. They say it. So I will date this politician.
And actually, I want you to confine yourself to specific quarters. A huge percentage of women in Kenya. You don't know what happens in UK.
Yeah.
So in Kenya.
Yeah.
And this is actually the problem, especially we want to
yeah.
the other.
So I'm just building onto a point. I hear you about the whole what money can't buy love. In fact, I think there's even a song about it. But a huge percent, especially that demographic, that 20 to 30, it's become this thing of, oh, does he have money? What's his social status? What's his portfolio like? Where does he stay? What does he drive? Which places does he go to? And the thing is, men know that. So if I want to bag this woman, then I just have to present myself a certain way as being able to provide for her. Now my question will be, and this is what really totally just throws me off, why is it so difficult for this woman, this percentage of women, however many they are, why is it so difficult for them to just find their daily bread? Why do you want to treat this man as my source of provision or providence or whatever? So, and that's what is hurting men, I think. Like, because I know you're here to use me.
Because we've come to an age, and this brings me back to the point, you need also to talk to your children about social media and its influences and everything.
Yeah.
We've come to our society, I think for the last maybe decade, internet has really hit us, and social media platform, which can be used for positive and negative.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've come to a country where most of the people who are glorified, especially in the media, sometimes, and on the internet, and they are not, they are maybe people who are deemed to live a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
Like people think, why is
all
it,
that
if
glamorous
this
and things,
person
yeah.
is living this, she didn't go to school, I want it, I want it, I want it. And you know, when you're young, it's when you're in college sometimes, and when you're young, it's hard to, even when you think back way, it was hard to differentiate reality and peer pressure and something of the sort. This is the problem whereby people think when you're in university, there's a time Caroline Mutoko spoke about it. She said, when you're in university, nowadays people expect to eat well. When you're in university, you're not supposed to eat well. You're supposed to eat that cafeteria food and hustle and do whatever.
But Rita,
Yeah?
Rita. No, wait. The women, to be honest, some women are taking advantage of these men. And that is why you find all these theories come up on Twitter. It's become this thing. It's become this thing in our society where, but we know she was in it for the money. We know she was in it for the status. We know she was in it for whichever house she was bought. I was actually at a salon when Sharon was murdered, and there were girls there from campus. And they're like, she was very stupid. You know, she was greedy, she was stupid. She would have just worked her way up. I mean, if she was being bought for a 6M house, why would she be throwing tantrums for not being bought for a 10M house? You know, they were there discussing their own colleague in the same sphere. And you're there wondering, what? Okay, very educated women in campus talking about their fellow colleague that way, also pursuing the same path for themselves. Why have women gone to that level? Because I feel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the men are reacting to it.
We need to be honest. There's
Yeah.
no money. I mean, there's no man in Kenya who walks to a woman and starts giving her money. There's no. You always first court and do something.
That's
like,
what we are saying.
Yeah.
You date, you get to know each other,
Exactly.
then you start maybe to date. You know, the process as we know it.
So your question about it's all about money, and though it's a good question, but for me I always think by the time I'm giving you my money, we always have something going.
So now here he keeps saying, men are born investors, and when they invest in you, they expect returns. If you can't give the returns, just live the life your parents can afford. Do not be sad that your age mate is in Dubai and wearing the latest hair and clothes. They may be sad for what they have to do in Dubai and sad that they don't even love the person they're with in Dubai. So he says, be warned, don't be a victim, don't be depressed, one step at a time before you take money and gifts. If you can give what he wants, go ahead. If you can't live the life your parents can afford. So for me, and that is where I bear the crux of this, one, our young people want to live a certain life, like you said. So you see all these glamorous people, you want their lives without even knowing what their stories are. Second, you get into a relationship with this human being, whether it's man or woman, because you want him or her to give you that life. Okay? So it's not about love. It's about money. But even saying that, what Rita said, there's no amount of money you can deposit in my account that justifies you killing me. Okay? None. So in as much as, yes, I took your money, she took my money, it's because she knew you're my boyfriend. My boyfriend, we've been socialized, my boyfriend should be giving me some money. This alludes to something you said in a different TV show, James, that we do not have jobs in our economy that make our young people self-empowered to provide for themselves. And so they're going into all of these things. Could you just talk about that?
Yeah, no, and I think everybody's saying it, and I think the key word is sponsorship, as in that has just become quite acceptable, isn't it? I think it's known within the students, and it's sponsorship on both fronts, and I think both parties know what they're getting into at the beginning. I'm not saying it justifies the end of some of those cases, but if we look at that sponsorship, do they really want it? Or is it there is a lack of opportunities, a lack of jobs, remember, a lot of them are educating themselves, as in they're very bright people who are trying to educate, so they can't take a full-time job, but they need to get paid and still educate, so they choose sponsorship. So that will continue for as long as there's not opportunities of jobs, and it will continue for as long as sponsorship's okay. As in, I think we need to change mindsets on both sides of the fence, men and women, of where does sponsorship lie, where is it acceptable, and we also need to create opportunities where you can still study but get enough money to educate and go through, and I think that has to come back to us. And I think that's the key, is that most of them aren't choosing. It's a lack of options to create the money and the wealth that they're chasing, because they're already chasing the big dream by being educated and pushing themselves, but they want to get there a bit quicker. And I assume in lots of cases they don't want to be sponsored. They just don't have an option of education and money at the same time. And I think that's what we've got to try and figure out. We've got to get rid of and almost make sponsorship a bit of a stigma, and we've got to give options to be able to make your money whilst you're getting educated. I think that's probably something we've got to look at.
Is that possible in our society today?
No, it's possible. I think it's possible. Though what I was thinking actually in relation to what you're saying, I was thinking what Jalango had said in relation to what you're saying. We have seen most of the time it's not necessarily that we dated and we were in a relationship and I give you so many things and then now we are breaking up, I come and kill you. Most of the time it's not like that actually. We need to put ourselves in the context. Most of the time it's a scenario like you were saying. Women would look for someone to get money out of him, not necessarily telling him that we are in a relationship. So this man would be sitting there thinking they're in a relationship, but in the real sense they are not, because the woman has not been in the relationship, but she has been taking money. You see, that's the scenario we have seen in Kenya most of the time. The other scenario whereby we are in a relationship, I give you money, normally people walk away and it's end like that. I've never seen anyone kill another. Most of the time it's a scenario like the one I've said. So for me, I said there are so many factors and time will never be enough because it's a building of a case. One factor that you've said is about employment. The reason why women look for sponsors and take money from men is because some of them cannot get jobs. And actually men cannot also get jobs. But now it has become easy for women because they go look for those who already have jobs. We have so many men also looking for jobs. So the economy also is another factor. I mean, unemployment is another factor. And because a man cannot get a place where to get money from, he will go and become a robber or kill someone.
Into betting, isn't it? Because betting's a big problem for male students. Almost you've got sponsorship on this side and betting on the other, isn't it? I think that's I think one of the common problems.
And you see when those issues about women being killed came up, some men from areas in Nairobi came up, you know, doing some videos, and they say that a man did a video while he's working in a construction site and said, I'm doing this hard job here and blah blah blah, and then when I get home, I make 200 shillings per day, and I get home, someone, there's another woman there who's taking my money. So I think in the end, the economy and the situation in Kenya as far as economy is concerned is also a very big contributing factor, because if actually I'm rich and you take 14,000 from me, I won't bother, and maybe I'm a millionaire, maybe I won't feel anything. You see that?
Most of the sponsors are rich.
They don't care.
To them, a 5 million house
is nothing. You see, and you see a scenario from the one in Kilifi. They were disputing, what was it, 3,000 shillings? So it tells you the state of the economy they are in. If 3,000 shillings is so big that I can stab you, it actually tells you, come on, life is difficult on my side.
But also, Rita, I think mental illness.
For me, I think a violent person is a violent person. I was following a discussion on Twitter, on Facebook, and the reaction about this issue, there is extreme and there is not, really you see a middle. People are saying men actually have been hurt. People have given somebody even a car and they've switched phones on, but there's no one day I've ever thought I'm going to take an axe or a panga or shoot this person down. So it depends on the person. And for me, I feel like even if this guy was ever accepted by this girl, eventually something else would have triggered. For these people, it's a trigger. Anybody who is violent against women has triggers. It's just the dynamics you see about domestic violence. So, and that is the reason people don't understand why a woman is beaten over and over and over and over, and this person stays. These people have power. They manipulate you. They control you. So dynamics on violence, or people who beat women, or they have triggers. You'll never know. So for me, a violent person is a violent person, period.
So you don't think it has anything to do with the mental state?
It could have been, but as we were saying, this person didn't think, didn't maybe have an avenue, didn't have somebody to call. Because for me, a call makes a big difference. You just call somebody and it would just make you stop in your tracks.
Yeah.
But the fact that this person drove, didn't have a friend, didn't have anybody who could have told him this, whatever you're doing is crazy, let's go, let's move there and talk about it. For me, I find it sad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do men talk about their relationships, though?
Yeah, they do.
They do? So
They
you
do.
go say who you're dating?
Of course, they talk to other men when they go
Yes,
drink and
that's
stuff
what I
like
mean.
that. They do
Yeah.
talk.
Okay.
But I want to somehow disagree with her and say that mental illness is a serious problem across the globe. And Americans have taken it seriously. I don't know if the UK does and other places like China, but I know Americans because I've read so much about it. They have taken it so seriously. So sometimes you can hear someone has, you know, gone on a mass shooting, and then they say he is mentally ill, you see. Not because they are trying to mask it, but actually some of the time those people are actually ill. But they say it for what it is. They say this person is ill, and they take that person, even if he's convicted, he's actually taken to the hospital. So we have a problem in Kenya whereby, and I said we have so many factors. Someone might go into depression and then suddenly becomes mentally ill. So it might do something, not actually, it might not be in instances, but in Kenya we don't have enough counseling. We don't have enough infrastructure to deal with mental illness. We don't have enough infrastructure even to deal with depression, because these cases are so rampant to an extent that most people go without being diagnosed. You might be so depressed and you might not be diagnosed that you're in a depression. Yeah.
There was also a discussion the other day on Twitter. I think you're active more on Twitter than me, actually. And there was talk about depression. It was trending.
Yeah, it was.
And it really opened. I knew people were depressed, but it really opened people's eyes.
Yeah.
Like most people didn't know the state at which
Extent to
depression
which.
is affecting our country. Especially in these hard economic times,
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah.
And people,
But you see, that's
yeah.
the problem I have.
Mhm.
It starts and ends on Twitter.
But Twitter is just a platform. Don't say it ends there. If she learned something from there, she saw it there. So actually she learned.
So she learned. But
yeah,
then
people
for me
learn
it's
from
always
there.
what's next?
What next
Who's
is
taking
she
the
learned and
next
she
step?
acted on it. She learned and she has something in her. So it's just a very good platform to learn from, even Facebook. So
Like I'm always wanting, like you're running this campaign on, this one for something to Mechoka along those lines.
Yeah.
So there's something, some almost revolutionary thing that it's boiling up on your.
You know, it's online. In Africa, we are still taking online with a pinch of salt. We don't take it with the seriousness it deserves. That's why someone asked a question. So after you've said that online, Facebook, what next? Because we don't see that already. For me saying something about depression, for instance, and she saw it,
Yeah.
she learned something.
I
We don't
get
see
it.
that learning something from that
That's
platform
something.
is something.
I get
We
it.
normally want to see something on the street, so that you see actually something is
Something
happening.
happened.
Americans are actually, they are campaigning on Facebook and Twitter. They
Yeah.
don't, nowadays they don't even go to they just go on
I
Twitter,
get
say
it.
something, do videos,
I
talk
get
on
it.
TV, and that is it.
Yeah.
But here we have to, do it. So we want to take social media
I stand
with
corrected,
seriousness
actually. I
it
see it.
deserves.
So
we-
when someone grasps it for you, the job has been
that is
done.
it.
You're successful.
That's been done.